Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Revelations from the Spinning Ball. Today, we are going to discuss equatorial mounts. The other day, I was watching a video that was made by Dave McKeegan and Planer Walk, where they were talking about a certain YouTube channel and their video on red, green, and blue filters. Now, this video was very informative, but what really caught my attention was the fact that I've never heard of this particular YouTube channel. It's called Peter and Pete. As I've mentioned, I've been following the flat earth for several years now, so I'm very familiar with most of the flat earthers on YouTube. TikTok, not so much, but definitely on YouTube. So I headed over to this channel, and it was immediately apparent why I've never heard of this channel, and that's because they devote much of their time in an attempt to debunk the general principles of chemistry. I'm serious. Go over there and have a look sometime. But they are flat earthers. So I went through their old videos, and I found a video on equatorial mounts and the flat earth. Now, we're going to take a look at a few minutes of this video, but be warned, there is some serious confusion here.
Now all you have to do is to explain how equatorial mount works on a flat motionless surface. Well, it's quite ezy. Well, there you go. They just do. You know, it's so easy. Third axis. Why should he do that? When it's the Earth that rotates. Why does his stand not move? Why does he not get a stand?
Yeah.
Why is his telescope not fixed?
Yeah.
If it was the case that the Earth's moving, then why should you move your telescope? Well, think about it logically. Yes, think about it logically. If it was the case that the stars don't move and the Earth does, why should you need to move your telescope? You should be moving the stand that the telescope is on, not the telescope. Yeah.
Because someone might say no, it's either one or the other.
Well, no, but it would make sense that the telescope doesn't move.
So this confusion just continues on. Be sure to pay attention to what they are saying about people who do not agree with them and their mental health.
To be a globe.
It's just crazy.
It's insanity. Even Wolfie 6020 did a video about all this rubbish.
Yeah.
You know, these guys have
Got mental health problems.
They've got mental health problems. I mean, azimuth fault and your altitude.
But not only that, you're still not proving that the stars are not just rotating.
I know these people have just they're shots of, aren't they?
They've literally got mental health problems.
They've literally got mental health problems. Absolutely, of course. But it's so nice to actually spot all these people with mental health problems.
Yeah.
Even Scott Manley, another guy with mental health problems. You know.
Yeah.
Cody's Lab, all of them have got mental health problems.
Sci-Fan Dan,
absolutely, Fine Pan Dan, they've all got mental health problems. Conspiracy Cats got mental health problems, but they won't admit it.
Max 52.
So some major confusion here, right? Now, if you can, please try to stay to the end of this video because after we finish our discussion, I'm going to drop a bomb on Flat Earth. And I'm also going to issue flat earthers a tiny little challenge. So please try to stick around for that if you can. Let's start by talking about how equatorial mounts actually work. Now, as you are probably already aware, equatorial mounts are aligned with the polar axis of the Earth. If you live in the northern hemisphere, you will line up your mount with the north celestial pole, and we usually do this by locating the star Polaris. If you live in the southern hemisphere, you will line up your mount with the south celestial pole. And I know it's true that a lot of flat earthers believe that there is no south celestial pole because there's no star at the pole, but every time our friends in the southern hemisphere line up their mounts, they are locating the south celestial pole. The reason that we line up our mounts this way is so that we can compensate for the axial tilt of the Earth. When we do this, we can achieve tracking at a high level of accuracy. And this will allow us to take very good photographs or track a star all night long, whatever we want to do. I think a lot of the confusion regarding equatorial mounts comes from the fact that if you Google the term equatorial mount, you will usually get a definition that reads something like a mount that has one axis aligned with the polar axis of the Earth, which is true. But I think this leads a lot of people to think that this type of mount only operates on one axis. It does not. Now, the one axis tracking we will get to in a minute, but in general, this type of mount moves on two axes. The first axis is the right ascension, which is like this, and then the second axis is the declination, which moves like this. So we polar align to compensate for the axial tilt of planet Earth, and then we move the telescope in this direction, which is right ascension, and then in this direction, which is declination. Okay? I would never use the equatorial mount as my go-to evidence for the globe, but it definitely supports it, and it definitely debunks the flat Earth. The reason it debunks the flat Earth is because on a flat Earth, it makes no sense to polar align with an axis that does not exist on an Earth that has no axial tilt. If you remember, on the flat Earth, there is no axis anywhere. The only axis is the universal axis, which is located above Polaris. Now, it is true that several years back, a small group of globe earthers really hit the flat Earth hard as far as equatorial mounts were concerned. And I even remember it was Bob Nodell that did a show on Globebusters where they discussed equatorial mounts. And after they did this long discussion, they concluded that these are just fine on the flat Earth. There's absolutely no issue. These types of mounts work just great. Well, this is absolutely not true because, as I just mentioned, this type of mount is nonsensical on a flat Earth. On a flat Earth, there is no reason for me to polar align with Polaris because I'm in the northern hemisphere, because that would absolutely not benefit me in any way. On a flat Earth, what you think you would do would be to basically level your mount and line up your telescope and mount with the flat plane of the Earth, right? And also on a flat Earth, there is no reason to track the stars the way this mount is designed to do. So I think that what the globe earthers were trying to say back a few years ago completely went by flat earthers, okay? First, they were talking about the one axis tracking. And what that means is that once you get this mount locked in on a star, it's going to move this axis to lock in, all right, in that direction. And then it is only going to move this axis for the rest of the night as it tracks a star, right? Now, it's true that this type of mount will do what is called a meridian flip. And what happens is this mount will track a star, let's say it's like this, and it will get to your local meridian, okay, which is directly overhead, and then it will flip once the star gets to your local meridian and begin tracking like this. But after it does a flip, it will still continue to track that star on one axis, okay? I also think that what the Globers were pointing out was that it's completely nonsensical to track a star like this on the flat Earth. If you look at the flat Earth and the flat Earth dome, stars should move like this, not in an arc like this, okay? It's very nonsensical and it makes no sense. Now, flat earthers are going to say perspective, but as I've mentioned before, perspective can do some things, but it cannot change the geospatial orientation of objects in the sky, all right? If you look at the dome and you look how the stars are moving, you should track stars like this and not like this. So my little bomb for the flat earth is this. While I was making this video, I noticed something that I've never heard talked about and something I had never even noticed until now. And that is this. As you know, most of the mounts out on the market today are electronic. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is an electronic mount. It just does not have the electronics hooked up to it right now. So most mounts are electronic. Now, if you tell your mount, hey, I want to track a star for an extended period of time. So let's say you are out looking at a star all night, and then at daybreak, you go inside, but you leave your mount running, and you come back periodically throughout the day to check on it, because your plan is that when it gets dark again, you're going to pick up that same star, okay? Guess what that mount is going to do throughout the day? And this is on just about every single mount on this planet. This would happen with equatorial mounts and alt-azimuth mounts. And there might be some mounts that wouldn't do this, but that's actually would be due to their actual mount design. But guess what that telescope and mount are going to do throughout the day? They're going to point downwards, all right? As if that star has moved around the other side of the earth, okay? Think about that. It's going to point downwards. On a flat earth, there is no reason for a mount to ever point downwards, because all the stars stay above the flat plane of the earth at all times. My little challenge to flat earthers is to write a program for these types of mounts, and people do it all the time. I've downloaded several mount tracking programs directly from the internet. So flat earthers need to write a mount program that will demonstrate that their mount will stay above the plane of the earth throughout the day if you were tracking a star on the night before, and that it will have the capability to pick up that star as soon as the sun goes down, or when it's coming around the bend of the horizon, right? You could also do this by simply, let's say a star rises at 9 o'clock, your local time, and you go out at 8:30 and you tell your telescope mount to go ahead and find the star. It's going to point downwards again. And think about that. There is absolutely no reason for a mount and telescope to ever point downwards below the plane of the earth if the earth is flat. Now, of course, flat earthers are going to say, hey, it's part of the conspiracy, right? Well, really? Really? Think about it. On one side, you have the globe with a lot of evidence, and practically every mount on the planet that's electronic behaving like this. And on the other side, you have the flat earth with very little, if any, evidence, and not one single mount program to demonstrate that it has the capability to track the star throughout the day and night and stay above the plane of the earth and pick up that star directly as it comes around the horizon. They're just not going to be able to do it, not using flat earth values. And I challenge them to write a program to demonstrate that they can create a mount and a mount program that will track the stars throughout the day and night without ever pointing downwards, as if the earth is a globe and that star has moved around to the other side of the earth. Well, that wraps up this episode of Revelations from the Spinning Ball. Please try to check out my next video where we will look at another flat earth video, but this time it's going to be a video that was made by Eric Dubay. So you know it's going to be a good time. Anyway, we'll see you again next time, and thanks again for watching.